Welcome to the UNC Podcast, where we have real discussions about real life with real people. The intent is to have insightful discussions around purpose, self-improvement, spirituality, and relationships. These discussions are for everyone out there that can relate and to help provide understanding to our purpose for those who may be lost. Let me introduce someone who originally born in Phoenix, Arizona, with his early years being raised in Wichita, Kansas. Till the divorce of his parents at the age of 4. He then lived overseas as a child of a military mother. Our guest today brings a wealth of life experience to the table. He holds 2 Bachelor of Arts degrees in business and a master's in business administration. His dedication and leadership were honed over 15 years of commendable service in the U.S. Army, during which he traveled extensively across various countries, enriching his global perspective. Today, he channels his vast knowledge and experience into his own business ventures and shares his insights through his writings as an author. Despite experiencing the challenges of growing up in a single-family household and the failure of 2 marriages, he finds his greatest joy and pride in being a father to 3 sons. Please join me in welcoming a seasoned professional, business owner, veteran, and author, and most importantly, a devoted father, Mr. CB Ellington.
Man.
Oh, man.
Yes. That was amazing, but I appreciate it.
Oh, all good. How you doing today, man?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. How about yourself?
I cannot complain. I cannot complain at all. Sunny weather out here and good vibes.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I appreciate that intro. That was like that intro. I've never heard about something.
Hey, we got you, man. We got you. Look, we know there's always, we got to highlight and talk about aftermath. Is always a storm in our lives. So, today I know you're going to talk a little bit, in depth about, kind of what you've been through, talk about, some exciting things that you got going on in your life and where you're looking to move forward, in your life. With that being said, I like to start off every interview with one question. This question leads down the path of everywhere we want to go. The question is, do you know and understand your purpose?
Absolutely. And it's crazy because I had no clue for a long time. For a long time, I had no clue. And I think the lack of identity is what kind of caused the recklessness in the beginning. But absolutely. Yep. Now standing before you today at this big age of 44, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm happy to say that I'm doing it. I'm operating in my assignment. My purpose is being fulfilled. And that's exactly what brought us together.
Please explain like in depth. So what do you understand your purpose to be?
I know for me, my purpose is to serve. Servitude has always been a part of my life. My mother had me in the usher board when I was younger. I shied away from it when as the older I got, when I got to college. I knew I was supposed to be an usher in church, even when I attended church in college. But I kept, because of the lifestyle I was living, I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to be in that position. I never wanted to be the guy that you see me doing this for the Lord, but then you see me doing that for the flesh, and it becomes a hypocritical situation. I always wanted to get it right before I step into those positions. As we see today, a lot of prime positions are being held, and there's a lot of going on with those positions fumbling because they're not being by the right spirit. So for me, it was important to find God in the midst of trying to find out who I was. And I, in the book, I start out with my dad. That was a very traumatizing experience, not having a bond with him, time passing, and then he dies. I know him, but I don't know who this man is. So I don't even know which one's worse, not knowing your father completely or knowing you have a father and still not knowing your father. And in any case, trying to create an identity out of that, maybe I would have got some feedback from him like, hey, I do this. I like this. This is what I'm into. And I would have been like, oh, me too. I can identify with that. But because I didn't have those type of connections, I was looking for that from other people. And that's where you got the lustful content and everything else that came with that because it felt good. Acting out felt good because I was receiving the attention that I thought I was supposed to be getting from him.
Correct.
So when it wasn't there, now I'm in the streets playing with the homies and comes the bad behaviors and everything that's associated with it.
When did you recognize, dang, a lot of these issues are probably from that reason, lack of guidance, father maybe not being around, as much as needed. Like, when did you understand that?
I first noticed it when I had my first son, which he just turned 21 yesterday. Crazily enough, 21 years ago, I had my first son, CJ. And CJ showed me what I lacked as a man. I had no clue how to be a father. I knew how to be nurtured. I knew how to be organized. I knew how to love from a mother's perspective because my mother did that. But as far as being a man's man, I had no clue. I had no clue. I had no clue how to treat his mother. I had no clue how to show him to be chivalrous. I had no clue how to show him how to be respectful. I was still running the streets when he was born. You know, so while I'm dibbling and dabbling and doing everything that I ain't got no business doing, I'm still finding time to do what I thought was right. I would look at, crazily enough, I'd look at like Family Matters or A Different World or Cosby Show and kind of try to emulate the Carl Winslows of what was going on and navigate that to my life and be like, okay, well, if he's crying, I'm supposed to hold him. If he's upset, I'm supposed to figure out what happened without the music playing in the background. If he's outside shooting basketball, I'm supposed to join him. That's literally how I was looking at fatherhood, being raised by TV, you know? And the sad part about that is when the TV's off, who do you go to? You know, when you're not in the TV, when you're outside and you're doing things you ain't got no business doing, what brings you back to balance? And it was always undoubtedly my children, hands down. That's when the turning point kicked in. After my third child, it was like, you got to get your life together. It took 3.
Yeah, I understood it. Yeah. The title of the book is From Hoe to Husband. You know, so if there's obviously what it states or what I've read is the lack of the guidance created the monster, created the beast. I honestly find it very non-unusual that most dudes growing up, most men growing up without fathers and stuff like that, that's exactly what they go. Sometimes it's women. A lot of times, if they have the ability, they got, I don't know, certain attributes, certain things about them that can attract women. Not all can. That becomes the coping mechanism. It's kind of the easiest one because it's the easiest access. Not always easy to get access, especially when you're younger, to drugs, alcohol, things like that. But you know, every other person out there is the opposite sex, so you can get to that. How did you become or go from a hoe to a husband? Just, you know, high level, kind of take us down that process.
So initially, it's crazy. The stuff I used to get picked on became my superpower. It's no secret I have thick lips. So in my mind, it was like, if y'all gonna pick on me, number one, I'm gonna learn how to pick back. So I learned how to defend myself. And number two, if my lips gonna be big, then I'm gonna make everything else big. So I started getting in the weight room and I started working out. I was tired of getting picked on. And it was crazy because going to my mom with those type of issues, you know, she was what we consider in today's time, she was operating in her masculine. So didn't really coddle me like a mother truly would. Like, come here, baby, let me hold you. In her mind, it was man up, get over it, and keep it moving. Choice words. So I didn't have that father that would say like, hey man, you know you're handsome. You look just like your dad. And look at your dad. Look at me. I'm successful. I got thick lips. Nothing's wrong with it. Love yourself and everybody else will fall in love with you. I didn't have that. So for me, it was like you said, I was trying to figure out what about me could I get people to like. Unfortunately, it was me becoming the class clown. And like people say, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. They were laughing at me. So I couldn't decipher the two. All I knew was when I did silly stuff, I got the attention that I liked. And the attention that I liked got me in trouble. I get out of trouble, back into the class, cutting up. If we go to a party, I'm in the middle of the dance floor, I'm cutting up. I got attention. And eventually, those became my superpowers. Once I realized that girls paid attention to the guy who's acting out, started acting out even more. So then came the smile, then came the voice, then came the body, then came he's growing into his manhood. Now you and we taking it there. So once I got my first piece of action, like Cameron said today, clapping cheeks, like once you got your first piece and I knew what I could do, you put all those superpowers together in one, you became this nasty manipulating system that's just walking around looking for the next victim.
Now, let me ask you, when you got your first piece, roughly, you don't have to give the exact age you don't want to, but roughly how old were you?
15. I was turning 15. It was the day before my birthday.
When would you say it became like consistently active? About what age?
From 15, I'll tell you the truth. After 15, I went on. I was listen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything from that point. It almost sadly, it almost felt like get back. Like now that I got it and I know what to do with it, everybody who gives it to me, I'm gonna make sure you get every bit of energy that you didn't give to me when I wanted it.
Where was the provocation? You know, where it was so depth, where it's like, all right, no, I'm paying back this way. Like, where did that come from?
Crazily enough, it was women. Women were the first ones to pick on me, and
wow,
it had me so scared to talk to women. When you go out with the fellas, and when I say go out in my teenage years, it could be a basketball game, it could be a football game, it could be hanging out at McDonald's. Dudes would be talking to women, back then it was how many numbers could you get? We would go to the mall and play to see how many numbers you could get. And I was always the one that would be scared to go talk to women. I would never do it. I'd come back with 0 every time because I had a fear of somebody saying something about me. I didn't want to be embarrassed. So once I owned in on the fact that I know how to use these lips now, it became a weapon of choice. So every woman that came across my path, it was like, oh yeah, you about to get back from 4 years ago from this chick that said I had big. I'm about to show you what these big lips do now. And when I do what I do, you're going to go tell your friends and they're going to want, like, it was like a domino effect.
Yep.
So yeah, it was actually women that used to pick on me. And then that flipped around from, he got big lips to what can he do with those big lips? Realize my superpower, and I have no control, no guideline with it, no blueprint on how to act accordingly. You're reckless. You get reckless. You get real reckless.
So explain the recklessness, because this is the part that a lot of times men don't understand, especially when you're younger. And recklessness can come at any age. It is just harder to see it when you're younger. Obviously, at some point, it switched. And you say 15, but what made it switch? I know you grew into a certain stuff. I'm holding in on this. I know it's important because this happens different for different people for different reasons. And some men, as they get older, don't realize it happened very young, and you may not have acted fully on it then. You may have started, but it created a monster for later when you actually you may have grown, got your size, your lips developed, did everything at an early age. Other men, it might take them another 5-10 years from 15 before they really get to that. And they got 10 years worth of like, boom. A lot of us didn't have control. I was for sure one of them when it happened to me. But when it happened to you, what caused it? Like, how did that start?
High school was about the time frame where I traveled with the pack. Anytime I got a phone call, especially during times where it was like end of school testing, when parents would be at work and we just in the street, get out of school early. You always got that call like, hey, I got some, come over to the crib. Stuff like that was happening. You know what I'm saying? So it was easy pickings as long as I ran with the pack. Like you said, you would always get somebody's homegirl or the leftover, or either you was the guy on the couch while your homie was in the back doing what he do. But in any case, you're still traveling with that pack, learning those behaviors. And for whatever reason, it's exhilarating, it's fun, it's enticing, it's feeding that fleshly desire. And you're not even realizing the damage that you're doing, because at that time, you just seem like you're just having fun. When I got to college, that's when it changed. When I got to college, I initially traveled with the freshman pack. When we got to, I'll never forget it, we got to a freshman orientation party, and all the guys were just standing on the wall. I knew I could dance. That was one of my superpowers. I'm looking at them like, why are y'all just standing here? The girls are dancing. And all of them was like, well, man, go ahead and show out. That's what I do. Like, y'all don't know this. Y'all don't know this.
Clown, man.
Right, you're just right up my alley. So I go out there and start getting on the biggest booty I saw. She turns around, give me that little girl, is he cute look. She approved. She keeps going. Everybody circles around us. From that point forward, I knew I could hold any situation down by myself without the crew. I didn't need the pack anymore. And that's where it kind of kicked off. And once I got the girl that everybody wanted, you couldn't tell me nothing else. My head, the ego, the pride, the lust, everything went to the next level during that moment. Exactly. I'll never forget it. That was my freshman year girlfriend. We dated for about a year. And during that time, yeah, we enjoyed college campus. We was all over the campus, spreading DNA everywhere. And it just got worse. The more I did that, and this is going to be another segue, but I was heavily watching porn at the time. And while I was watching porn, that was influencing me to do certain behaviors, because I would always want to try what I saw and emulate what porn was doing, because it looked like it felt great. And if he can make her do that, imagine what I can do to her. So once again, not having that guy or that person to tell you, hey, that's not right. Don't watch that stuff. It's not good for you. It can desensitize you. XYZ. Yep. I didn't have that. It was more so guys saying, share that video with me. Where'd you get that from? Once again, them behaviors.
Yep.
Being accepted ultimately caused a whole bunch of more recklessness in college.
Now, is that when you had your first son?
Yes. I was 21, 17. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I met her. I was 21, sophomore in college. Yep. When she was finishing up high school, she was going to be coming to our college. She was wrapped. I met her in summer school. She was actually taking college courses.
Okay.
I thought she was in college. Disclaimer. But when I found out she wasn't, it was already too late. We were already intimate. So when she was like, well, I'll be graduating anyway, and I'm coming to your school next year, I was like, okay, cool. So when she came, again, I had a trophy girl on my arm. Pretty girl, beautiful dresser, stylish, killed it. Everywhere I went, dudes dapping me up like, yep, once again, feeding that ego. But in my mind, I'm like, well, damn, if I can get her, then who else can I get?
Exactly. So this is the girl you were with for a year?
This was no, the girl I was with for a year, the one in the book where I had where I went over to her dorm and called her outside because she got caught up dancing at another party in front of some other guys. That came back to me. That was her. So this one is my son's mother, which was after that. So I went from her to my son's mom, and then the story goes from there. So
Gotcha.
The girlfriend lasted maybe 2 semesters before we broke up.
Okay. That's right. You said sophomore year. This is your sophomore year in college. Okay.
Right. So then I met my oldest son's mother, and we lasted for about a year before I moved on to the next relationship.
Now, why do you think that one didn't last?
That was probably the bulk of my whole phase. I was bad. Okay. I was bad. Okay. Because she wasn't quite in college yet. So even though I would see her and bring her to college functions, she would still have to go home at a certain time, because she was still in high school. But during that time lapse, I was still staying on campus and had my own dorm room, and I could kind of move how I wanted to move because she stayed at home with her mom. So while she's home, of course, I'm still playing the field and talking to whoever I want to talk to. When I know she's coming on campus, then I'm behaving and I'm acting cool again. Problem was, that campus wasn't so big. So whenever they would see me with her, they'd be like, wait a minute, wasn't you just with such and such? Yeah. And I saw you over here, but now you over there. And I was just like getting caught up every which way but the right way. So eventually I drove her away. She couldn't really prove anything, but she knew. Yeah. So eventually it just came to a point where she had enough. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing something right, because now I have a son on the way. I got this woman who was a great woman, but I didn't know I didn't know what that was about. I didn't know how to treat it. I didn't know how to take care of it. I didn't know how to cater to it. All I knew was I had a quantity of quality around me. I think the ratio back then was 32-1. There was 4 women dorms and 1 male dorm. I was out of I was way out of my element. I had no clue what to do with all of that attention. None.
Definitely understand that. I mean, I started even before you. I was 19 when I had my first. So it was me when I got into the real workforce, like the real jobs. Right. I was young. I was 20 years old and got a career job, working for a phone company, and just kind of started out there. But the reality is I was the youngest of like any person in this dang office. There's multiple, probably 75 to 80% in this call center environment to start. 75 to 80% are women. I'm the youngest. Man, these ladies, no matter what the situation was, they were just throwing themselves you know, at you. They're just coming because it's too many. There was way less guys than there was women. Majority of the women, or excuse me, the majority of the men that were there weren't heterosexual. You know, a lot of them weren't. So when there was one, it didn't matter the situation, didn't matter didn't matter about any of that. They were coming. So at that point, you actually start thinking, man, I'm getting all this attention. Reality for me, I was like, dang, I was actually getting used though. I mean, reality was they were utilizing, you know, me, you know, for whatever the things that they want, because I didn't really have anything to offer at that point.
Right. It don't take but one person to say the right thing at the wrong time.
That's it.
And I could be on the court cutting up, and I would walk to the side to get something to drink, and I promise you, one would walk up to me and be like, the way you dance, I know you can. And I'd be like, there's one way to find out. That was always my favorite response. I know you can dance, so I know you can. There's one way to find out. Get their number, and before long, it will go down. And I knew in my mind I had to make do of what, like, if I got you, whether it was a one night or whatever, I was gonna give you the best deal I possibly could, because I know you gonna run tell somebody. I wanted that type of reputation. I was okay with having the good dick reputation. I was okay with that.
I understand that. So how did that go? So did you and your son's mom split while she was pregnant, or was after he was born?
Right around the same. Right when he was born, she went through a little postpartum, and I kind of kept him for a bit. And as I'm keeping him, I'm going to class and kind of like trying to make it work daycare wise. Working at the Adams Mark Hotel. I was in the reserves. Like I'm doing everything I can to make sure, because, you know, not having my dad prompt me to, at least I got to be there for him financially in some capacity. I knew that much. So to take the stress off of her, I was like, boom, let me get him in daycare. I'll go to class. Well, at that time, I'm in the gym still. I come up the subway and I bump into what is now my middle son's mom. So when I bump into her, she's working at Subway. I got the cut off sleeves. You know, I'm looking hungry, and she feed me the sub. I'm gonna make a sub special for you. We end up bonding and flirting. Next thing you know, she's like, look, I got you. I'll watch Little Man while you in class. Save your money. That kind of just took my little heart. Like I was like, oh, you built different. Got you. So of course you finna get the platinum package. I'm finna give you everything. So we end up becoming intimate, and for the rest is history. So as I'm transitioning, I don't even think it took maybe a few weeks before me and her broke up that I was already kicking it with this one.
How old was your son roughly about that time? Rough.
A little bit. He was one. One going on two.
Okay. But you and his mom not together.
Not together.
Because you broke up. But got it. Yep.
Right. But them feelings is still kind of, you know.
I get it. It's not,
you know, when I see her and I pick him up for daycare or something like that, we're still kind of lovey-dovey. You know, because she don't know about this situation yet, you know.
Hey, you be honest. You be honest. You were still every now and then getting baby mama, right?
Every now and then. It was very few and far. Yeah, it was very few and far in between. Very, very few. Maybe like even one or two more times, and that was it.
Okay.
Because she was really going through a lot with that, with the postpartum. So I had to let her take time to herself.
Gotcha.
But she caught up to it one day because she called me and was like, where are you at? And I was like, I'm in class. I'll call you back. So she texted me and was like, where's our son? And I was like, with her. And she was like, her who? And I was like, boom. And I put the name, and she was like, oh yeah? And that was it. Then I text her and was like, hey, baby mom's on her way. I can feel it in my bones. Just prepare. I'm in class shivering because I don't know what's about to happen. So, of course, she pulls up. Nothing physically happened, but she did take my son from my girl and was like, yeah, that won't happen ever again. So I was like, wow. So at that point, she knew me and her were together. That's how she figured that. So
got it. So now, so then you got yourself in the second situation.
Yep.
And I won't even say situation, but now you meet her. Now, was she going to school too? Or was she just working at okay.
So at this point, I'm a junior. She's in the girl. My middle son's mom is a sophomore, so she's a year under me.
Okay.
And she's doing great things. And I'm taking care of my son the best I can. His mother came out of that slump she was in, so she's in school now. So now we're all going to the same school. Extra weird. So, but for whatever reason, we never really bumped into each other too much because my oldest son's mom was a local. She was from that area, so she would always go home. So she never really stayed on campus to go to any parties or anything like that. She'd go to class and go home. With my middle son's mom, we was outside. We partied. Okay. I was working club security at that time, which was opening the door to more buffoonery, because now I'm getting the girls that's like, ooh, say, can I get in free with you? Ooh, can I skip the line with you? And then, they passing you the number while they walking by you. Especially when they see you with another chick who looks good. They like, oh, that's his. I've literally had women walk up to me and be like, I seen your girl. She cute or whatever, but she can't do it like me. Well, let's find out.
I know.
It never stopped. It's like the moment you think you're doing good and you lock something down, here comes that temptation. And if you ain't built to withstand it, you're going to fold every time. Every single time. I folded every single time. Now, what I was good at doing was breaking up with you before I did it. That way I felt like I ain't really. That was horrible.
It's funny though, CB, man, I try and tell, like even when I talk to women, I try and let them know, like when men do certain things, they don't, like, it's not that they always are afraid. I mean, they're more worried about hurting your feelings, because when your feelings get hurt, we don't know how you're going to react. Like, that's the uncontrollable. It's not really about letting you know, I just can't control how you're going to act. Ladies, when they get to real, a lot of times they don't, it doesn't really go that well. So I understand making sure, let me break this off before this even take place.
It's the simplest thing. And I turned it into something big to where I could be like, you know what? We done. I ain't talking to you right now. I'm cool. 2-3 days go by. I'm on savage mode. And then I circle back around and be like, hey, can we talk? Are we good? We straight? You all right? You mad at me? And that was what can be said, I guess, that narcissistic behavior they're talking about now. We didn't have a term for it back then. But I guess, that could be that. But like you said, and that kind of, as bad as Baby Boy of a movie was, the part where he was like, I cheat because I don't, you know what I'm saying? I care about your feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's why I don't tell.
It's kind of true. That's why I didn't tell you, because I do care. And it sounds so contradicting, because it's like, if you care, then why do it in the first place?
Most won't they don't understand that or agree. I mean, it is a broken mindset for even us men when we go through that and we are out there being sexually active and doing those things and doing all that. I know it's not the ideal way of going through stuff, but it's part of us. We don't get attached to saying it does destroy us. It does hurt us. It does desensitize us, which they like, because it ends up being, it's the crazy part. They like it because it ends up being a more pleasurable experience for them.
Yeah, like, when you have that type of control over a woman, like when you point to them mentally, then you give them that D. It's like, you can do certain things to keep them. Yeah,
you're giving it to them, not for them to fall. You do want them to fall in love with that, but you're not doing it from the standpoint with the same intentions that it's going to be right. Like, it's the broken. It is definitely the broken part that a lot of women don't realize. That happens with men. When we become extremely good at that, it's because we've done it quite a bit. There's things about it that it's not, we can still function. We're not as emotionally tied to where it destroys our decision making, but it lets you know that there's a piece of us that you're not going to get. There's a piece of us that you probably, you're not going to experience that someone probably also has. Sometimes it's hard for ladies to understand that, because they always want to be the absolute number one best thing that has ever come across. It's hard for them sometimes to understand that, but we don't determine that through the physical aspect. At all. We need it. We crave it, but that's not what we determine it.
You hit the nail on the head. And disclaimer, we're not condoning this behavior. Let's be clear, very clear.
No. Not condoning it. This is not condoning behavior. It's just when you go through it. I mean, I'm first to say,
this is what my mindset was. Exactly.
I had the broken mindset. I mean, it comes from the background. My background a little bit different as far as the broken family environment, but it's still the same. The broken family environment, the lack of guidance, certain things not being taught, even when a man is present. Even when the man is there. I've got kids, and I was present, but I wasn't with their mom since they were very young. We split custody and did all of that. So I was present all that life, but not every day, not every situation. I couldn't protect everything. I had to fix wrongs later in life. It was much harder, but I'm just as responsible for it, right? I mean, it created that process. You know, the broken mentality, went through stuff, and recreated it.
100%.
So
100%.
So then you got your second. You know, you got two ladies and a kid going to the same college. Now, did you have a second while you were still in college? And
right as I'm graduating, this was 2003. I left to go to basic training, came back from AIT, had a new mindset when it came to goal accomplishments. I knew what I wanted to do with my life at that moment, but I was not prepared for a second child. And when she told me she was pregnant, I was like, wow, now I know I'm going in the military because I have to take care of these kids. There's no way I was going to stay in Winston-Salem, North Carolina and just work a 9-to-5 and struggle to take care of two kids and two different mothers of children. Wasn't going to happen. So I graduated in 2004, December. At that time, my second son was going on because he was born in 2003. July. I'm sorry. He was born in 2004, July. So when I graduate, he was born July 4th, 2004. 3 years later. No. I'm tripping. CJ was born in 2003. Keyshawn was born in 2007. So me and his mother had already gotten together and kind of like, I graduated, we got married. So yeah, we got married. Me and her, yeah. I graduated from school in 2004 with one son. When I left to go to my first duty station in Georgia, she was still with me. So when she graduated, that's when she came down to Georgia and we went down to the courthouse and got married.
But you had your son already.
Right. I had my first son already, CJ.
Not the second.
The second yet.
Okay.
In 2007, we were married. She got pregnant in 2007. I wasn't intentionally trying to get her pregnant, but it happened and we were married. So we were like, okay, cool. Let's make it work. From that point, I had intentions on getting out the Army, but once she told me she was pregnant, I was like, well, I might as well stay in. So I re-upped, did another 4 years, whatnot, but we didn't make it that far either way. The military really played a bad factor in me and her situation. Was I ripping and running around and doing crazy stuff at that point? Not too much, but I was still accepting the attention because in my mind, it was like, if me and you don't work out, I need to be prepared to have somebody to fill her spot. And that's a really broken mindset to have. And that's where it became the repetitive. I need some. It didn't even matter who it was, as long as she was pretty, had a nice ass, and could cook, she could fill that spot. Like it just wasn't something I really cared to fall in love with. It was just like, who can provide that comfort for me when I need it? Yeah, because I'm serving the country out here. I'm fighting wars, but during that time, Iraq was popping off real bad. I'm deploying. I'm doing all this stuff, so I don't need a bunch of extra stuff. I just need somebody that can hold down the house. Yep. And that's really all I wanted. So for her, she didn't want to do anything to do with the military. She was like, hey, I'm cool on the military. I don't want to travel like that. I know you're used to it because you're a military brat, but this isn't the life that I desire to live. I don't want to be Staff Sergeant Ellington's wife and that's it. I don't want to be sitting at home going to school and that's it. I want my own life. So from that point, it was like, all right, well, I'm going to take care of my son and I'm going to go off and do great things. And so we got divorced, I think 2010. So we lasted from 2006 to 2010, marriage-wise. But we had been together since college. So almost 10 years we had been off and on before we got met. And then we got married included with that time. So when I got divorced in 2010, it was like, I'm back in North Carolina. I'm at Fort Bragg. I got orders to go to Korea. And now I'm single. Oh, I'm fitting to cut up again. Because that's all I know. When I was 20. At this time, this was what, 2012, 2011, which was what, 13 years ago? 13 years ago? Yep. Yep. So I was in my 30s. I was in my late 30s, my like 33, 32, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's like prime. Because in early 30s, you don't feel like you're 20 no more. You kind of got that. You definitely feel more experienced. Yep. I'm sure at that point, you weren't in worse shape from being in the military and doing
great shape.
Yeah, great,
the best.
I'm trying to set the stage. So at early 30s, divorce, 2 kids, so military is providing stability,
stable lifestyle.
Stable lifestyle. I don't know if you staying on base or you staying in, in homes.
I have my own apartment on base. Yep. Have my own apartment on base.
Okay. So food, everything. So y'all expenses, I assume, is fairly reasonable. They're not killing you. All right. So yeah, what can anybody
I got rank on my chest. I got rank on my chest. And at this time, the military really didn't have such a bad rap as it does now. But at that time, because we were all coming back from Iraq, seeing a guy in uniform was like everything.
Yes.
We used to walk around in our uniforms on purpose just to get attention. I go to the mall in uniform.
I agree. Most time, even today, guys in uniforms, most getting respect. Very few times you won't get a level of respect, no matter what age.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So now,
you're not beast mode.
I got my own place. I got the nice ride. I got a couple dollars in the pocket from being deployed, taking care of the kids financially. But like you said, I'm not there every day, so I don't know what they're going through. But in the back of my mind, I'm still living this life. So it's a nasty balance. You call every now and then, you check in every now and then. But then when I hang up the phone, I'm right back to what we're doing this weekend. So I'm all over the place. I'm working club security again. I'm getting in all the clubs free. I'm downtown Fayetteville. I'm uptown Fayetteville. I'm in the mall. Every weekend, I'm somewhere doing something I ain't got no business. And then, of course, let's not forget the fact that I can still dance. So now I'm in the middle of their dance floors, cutting up, getting the attention that I got in college. It's the same behaviors with a more mature mindset.
Yep.
But not mature in the direction that it should have went. It was just more. I had sharpened my bullshit. That's what I did.
Okay.
I mastered my bullshit.
So that leads to what? How third son come into the picture?
Whew. So in the midst of that divorce, I get to Korea, and Korea was his own monster. I could probably write a book on that alone. But Korea was a revolving door. I mean, you only get a year there. So they got what you call deployment wives. Like, you meet somebody, it is what it is, and on to the next. We already know when we get back to the States, nobody talking about anything. Everybody quiet. So what happens in Vegas stayed in Vegas. So when we left there, initially me and my ex tried to rekindle what we had. That didn't work.
This is
my middle son's mother. Okay. We tried to rekindle what we had. That didn't work too well because by that time, I was too used to being single. Way too used. I was moving totally different, very independent, didn't need you for anything. And if you didn't come over there with some type of motion that even contributed to what I was doing, I ain't want to hear it. Because by that time I had met women that were E6s and E7s and captains and majors that had their own houses and their own cars. So now the level of what I desire is going up. Price is reason. Yeah, I'm not just accepting anything else anymore now. Now I know what I'm worth. So I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm an E6, then why am I dating you and you work at Walmart? Not to knock anybody that works at Walmart, but it just didn't, at that time in my mind, it wasn't jiving because I'm seeing two E6s live in a nice big old house with big BMWs outside and the kids are having a great time. So that's when my brain started trying to wrap around having a real wife situation, having a home with the wife that I could actually love on and she's contributing to the lifestyle. So when I got to Killeen, Texas, I bump into my youngest son's mother. We met on POF, Plenty of Fish.
Okay. Yep.
So we meet on the app. 2 weeks into meeting her, I shut everything down. So when I say I shut everything down, I literally said, this is the one that I want to do life with. I told her everything. I gave her all the stories. I told her all the women. I told her I wanted to get it out so she could see exactly what she's dealing with. That's all I want to do.
I just want to interject real quick, just for anybody that's listening to understand, like that is exactly what men will do when their mind is set with intentions. Yep. Whether you had the right intentions, whether or not you had a good plan, when a man's mind is set to do something, it doesn't take long. Like a lot of times I've talked with ladies and they wondering why things don't, happen. Yep. I'm like, well, he might not want to be going in that direction. Whatever the reasons are, you need to kind of dig and understand and see exactly where you stand and where this guy is going. But when he's ready to make a decision, he will make it. He will make it right. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. I can tell you. I tell you this, just to add to this, just so you, man, my wife, I knew very shortly after meeting her, she was a real one too. Like, that's from having so many experiences, going through different things. I really have been going through my process and understood. And I didn't even I'll be upfront, I didn't fully know exactly where that was going to go. That's not, I can tell you off me, I did not think that I was going to be married, again in life. Like, I mean, I did not think that was going to be the path, but I wouldn't give it back. So I guess I wanted to point out, when a man is intentional, he knows what's going on. He can tell right away, whether he's wrong or right, he's going to move accordingly. So for you to go ahead and say after 2 weeks, this is it. Whatever happened up to you through that point, you was like, nah, I'm going to do this different.
And you know what? She showed me different. When I met her, all of my old tricks did not work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got my attention with her. She made me date her intentionally. Like, I had to come up with, she was like, look, I like you too, but you ain't just finna meet me at no rinkety ass, spot. Where we going? You taking me on a date? I was like, yeah, I'm taking you on a date. Took her to dinner. She stood by the door, made sure I opened the doors, pulled her chair out. Like, she demanded to be treated like a woman, like a lady. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I like this. So when we got to her house to drop her off, here come what I know best, my superpowers. And I tried everything I could do. She was like, you got to go home. And she let me kiss her and stuff, but she was like, stop. And one thing about us, we don't force nobody to do nothing they don't want to do. So I was like, look, man, I'm so horny right now. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to press, but you just turned me on in so many ways. She was like, that's cool, but I want more than that. And I was like, dang. And I've never driven home so happy to get denied. I'm playing all the love songs on the way home. And the first thing I did, get home, I made it safe. I had a great time with you. Like, and I never felt nothing like that before. It actually felt like I really like her. And so for 2 weeks, we dated. She would not let me get any further than a date and some kissing. And I was like, okay. We went out matter of fact, I got orders to go to Kuwait, and I didn't tell her. Because honestly, I thought I was going to lose her. I didn't think she was going to stick with me through them 9 months if I would have told her. So the last night before, matter of fact, crazy enough, before I deployed, we went out and we had a great time. And at this point, she's got me trained to be respectful. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and take her to the house and drop her off and keep it moving. When we left the club, she was like, what you about to do? And I'm like, take you home, like normal. And she was like, I don't have a curfew tonight. Okay, so when we this is when I knew that lovemaking versus sex.
Mm-hmm.
When we had all of that built up for those last 2 weeks, the psychological connections we had, it made for the best lovemaking session ever. And when I finished, I knew that was going to be my wife. I was like, I got to tell you something. And she was like, oh my God, here we go. You gonna wait till I give you the puss before you do tell me some bullshit? What, you married? You got another? I was like, no, nothing like that. But I do have to deploy to Kuwait. And she was like, wow, how long? And I was like, 9 months. And she was like, why are you just not telling me this? And I said, well, I thought I was gonna lose you. I honestly did. And I didn't want to risk it, so I didn't say anything. And I apologize. She was like, okay, let me pray on it and I'll get back to you tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. I said, but I'm leaving tomorrow. So we kind of got to figure this out. And so she hit me back that morning and she was like, can I meet you? And I said, sure. So she drove me to the ramp where we were deploying from. And she looked at me and she said, you got one chance. Prove me right. Brother, when I tell you from that point forward, everybody was gone. I went through my phone. I deleted every number. I deleted every contact. Anybody that looked like it was something was gone. Pictures, videos, gone. So when you say a man, when he makes a decision, absolutely, ladies, he makes a decision, he will move mountains for that decision. And I knew that I didn't want anything from my past bite me in the ass with this situation. For 9 months straight, I catered to that woman as if I was sitting right in front of her. I didn't miss a beat. I'm flowers, cards, candy, sending money for no reason, sending gifts for no reason, writing poetry, sending, you name it. Till this day, she'll tell you those are the best 2 years of our marriage. Literally.
The first two?
I was deployed.
While you were deployed, okay.
The 9 months I was gone, and then the year I got back. Because we were still in the honeymoon phase. So for them first 2 years, I was a husband with no guidance, no training. I just did right. Whatever felt right, I just did it. She wanted a house, I bought the house. She wanted a car, I bought the car. Like, I just did it because I wanted to see her happy. I went
that makes it
wrong. Everything was fine. And this is why therapy is important. Everything was fine until I got denied sex.
Why'd you get denied?
She was tired. I didn't understand that. That didn't confuse me.
Now, do you mean like there was just an instant that she denied, or you mean like it started becoming where, nah, I'm tired tonight. I'm tired tonight. Like, do you mean, or it was the one time like, oh, she just denied me?
That one time. It was that one time. Crazily enough, we were in bed, cuddled up. I was horny as hell. And I tried to make a move, and she was like, not tonight. I'm really tired. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, at first she's like, come on, babe. You know, you trying to spoon or whatever. And she really tapped me on my shoulder and was like, babe, seriously, not tonight. And I don't know what came over me, but I felt so disrespected in that moment. I felt like I did all this. And you gonna tell me no? That's how I felt. And immediately, everybody that I had slept with in my life came back to my memory, was like, yep, she wouldn't have said no. She wouldn't have said no. She never said no. Why the hell am I going to take a no now? So to quiet those voices, I was like, you know what? Let me go in here and watch porn and just take care of myself. That was probably the dumbest move I could have made, single-handedly. When I did that, from that point forward, our relationship was never the same. She came around that corner and she asked me, what are you doing? And with my dick in my hand, I literally looked at her and said, I'm taking care of myself because my wife will not take care of me. That sparked the argument that lasted almost 3 hours. And I'm in here defending porn versus my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just ass backwards. It was ass backwards. But at that time, I felt like I was right. I felt like I should not be denied. I'm your husband. I provided all of this. You're not going to tell me no, because you don't know who I am. You don't know how quick I can go from husband to savage. Like, immediately, all of those old things resurfaced. And
now, how would you just give me a little bit deep just on that marriage? How was it up until that? Like, perfect. Everything about
perfect, no issues.
So, how was the dynamics? How was it structured?
So she worked at the VA. She go to work. I was getting out of the military at that point, so I was transitioning to the next level of civilian life, which was going to be network marketing for me. I had taken that on full speed, and then I had taken on the responsibility of being a full-time dad because all of my kids stayed there now at this time. She's not pregnant yet, but my other two kids live with us now. And I didn't really think about how much pressure that was on her, because when I met her, she had no kids. So now she goes from no kids to a wife, 2 kids that aren't hers and she's responsible for, a new house, new car. That's a lot of stress if on certain people. I'm military, so I'm built to handle stuff like that. Like, we take problems and do this all day.
Yep.
But I'm not her. Her going to work 45 minutes away, coming home, picking up little man from school that's not hers, making sure his homework is good, cooking, cleaning, and then dealing with CJ and making sure he's good and his behavior is straight, and then trying to take care of a husband. I didn't see that then. In my mind, it was like, you're my wife, you're supposed to perform for me when I ask you to perform, because if you need me to do it, I'm doing it. And I would treat you like that, so why are you treating me like that? And some people will argue, I've talked to some people about that, and they're like, nah, you wasn't wrong. But I felt wrong. As I grew, especially in the word, when I started getting into my spiritual side for real, yes, a woman is supposed to prepare herself for her husband, but it also says, love your wife as Jesus loved the church.
Absolutely. And if
Jesus has grace for the church, which is the people, then why didn't you have grace for your wife when she said, I'm tired? Who's to say she wouldn't have gave you something in the morning?
Right.
Who's to say she wouldn't have gave you something later on that night if you'd have just let her get some rest?
Yep.
Why couldn't you just kiss her on the head and say, baby, it's cool, and just cuddle with her and give her some flowers tomorrow? Now she really wants to jump your bones. No, your selfish ass went right to what you know best and activated your superpowers.
And so then it went downhill.
Went downhill from there. I started acting real childish after that point. Like, if you're going to I'm going to show you how that felt. Since you want to deny me, I'm going to deny you. And so things that I knew she liked, I wasn't participating in anymore. I made sure real petty. So the pettiness got to a level that we needed some therapy. And when we started therapy, it became a me versus her thing. We weren't listening to each other. Mm-hmm. It was, this is how I feel. She would express how she feel. Doc would be like, man, we got to unpack some stuff. Are y'all willing to go through this to get to where y'all need to get to? And at that time, bro, I was just so stubborn. I was just like, no, I'm not going through all this. I don't need to go through no therapy. I'm cool. I don't need therapy. Like, I'm only here because she want to do this. She was trying to save the marriage. I was already focusing on moving on to the next woman because that's what I was used to doing.
How did the third one come in then? When he come into play?
So as we're trying to repair things, we're still intimate here and there. You know, we have our good day. It wasn't all horribly bad.
I got you.
There was times we, you know, still, hey, we need to get out tonight because we ain't had a night out type deal. When I joined network marketing, we started traveling more because I was in a travel club, a lifestyle club. Okay. A lot of vacations we took were amazing. So we would go out, you know, be intimate, come back, and be broke because we did too much or whatever the case. Now we're arguing over finances, you know. So it was always 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But in the midst of that, she's pregnant. So here we go again. So now the baby's coming. Now she's going through what she's going through. And so the dynamics of having 3 different children by 3 different women. I don't know how these guys do it with 5 and 6, 7 baby mamas. I don't know.
You got 3 by 3. That is definitely a challenge because they can't grow up together unless they are with you, right?
Exactly. So I'm the common denominator in all of it.
So then this one, and how does it not work out? So the third one comes in. How old is he when you guys decide it doesn't?
So me and her decide to keep it to get married. We got married. We actually had a nice wedding. She's from Mississippi. We got married at the church before we had the wedding. Crazily enough, when I got back from Kuwait, when we were on cloud 10, we went to church and joined church together. Because we already realized we went to the same church. So we was like, let's join the church. I'm going to do the usher thing. She was in the choir. Everything was perfect. We started premarital counseling. On day 3, our counselor was so excited at the fact that I told her the truth about everything that I've ever done that he was like, well, that's nothing else for me to, you know, give y'all. Y'all are great. What's stopping y'all from getting married now? And I was like, well, I just got back from Kuwait. We only knew each other 2 weeks prior to me leaving. We really just want to take our time. And he was like, but I'm looking at the applications. Don't y'all live together? It's the same address. Yes, sir. He was like, okay, well, cool. In the eyes of the Lord, you're already married. So we're going to go ahead and make that happen. So next week, y'all show up here. We're going to go ahead and get that taken care of. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, wow. Now, at that point, I should have been mature enough to say, hey, that's the wrong decision. Maybe I should move out and get my own place. We really need to get to know each other before we say I do. But the way she looked at me when he said, you want to marry her? I was like, she just looking at me like, I was like, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Wasn't nowhere ready to be a husband.
Gotcha.
So when we got married that time, from that point, we planned on the wedding. And so that year of bliss, which was a very, very good year of our marriage, we planned the wedding. We had the wedding in Mississippi. Everything was fine. When we got back from Mississippi, that's when things was just like, I joined the travel club and I started doing a lot of traveling, building teams in different states. She's helping me, but not really helping me. I'm getting frustrated with that because I signed up for her to generate income as well. So we got in arguments about that. She started doing some personal training and powerlifting, and she wanted to compete. So she lost a lot of weight. So we weren't really out. The sexual attraction kind of waned a little bit because I wasn't used to her being that size. And if anybody knows anything about competition, competing, you shed weight like crazy. When you're in season, you can lose 40 to 60 pounds easy. And this was a Mississippi thick girl with the nice booty. Like, she had it all. So when she lost all of that, I was like, whoa. And I wasn't really active with her anymore after that. And so those things compounded with the finances, compounded with the kids having their issues, and we're dealing with that. And then us not seeing eye to eye sexually, it was just a recipe for disaster. And it was like, all right, we need to separate because right now we're arguing too much. Every other day is an argument. You do this, you do that. We're not listening. And so we separated with the intention of trying to work things out later. But during that time, of course, I met somebody else. So That never happened because the person I started dating, we got very intimate very quickly. And she was introducing me to stuff that I had never done, because that's when I got into. Whew.
So you talking from a intimacy standpoint? Okay,
like intimacy.
She open, yeah.
She was bisexual, so she was open to different things that I wasn't used to. But once you experience that type of high, it's like it's hard to come back down and would deal with regular stuff. So,
yeah. No. I understand that.
Yeah.
Now, what happened? What ended up coming of that?
When we filed for divorce, COVID kind of hit. That was around 2018-ish. And COVID prolonged that paperwork. And the girl I was seeing at the time, she really just got tired of waiting. Because in her mind, she was like, y'all too friendly. Because at that time, we were divorced, but we hadn't been together. Paperwork-wise, we weren't divorced, but we hadn't lived in the same roof in almost a year and a half. But because we were so close because of our child, if she called, I jumped. I ran over there and fixed it, or whatever the situation could be. And so the girl I was dating was like, I don't like the way you coddle the mother of your child. It doesn't scream divorce at me. It screams that y'all gonna work things out. So until I see paperwork, I don't want to do this no more. And so that ended that. So when the paperwork was finalized, here I was once again by myself, 3 kids, 3 mothers of children, same situation. At this point, it was like, do I run the streets again, or do I go get help? And that's when I made the decision to get help.
I appreciate the entire background. Now this is the part that I really want to focus on. How? Tell me what got you to that, and what exactly did you do? What did you do to get help, and how did you know that you needed it? And it had to be something different than that you did before.
Yeah, the same therapist that I had during our separation, our prior to our divorce, that tried to help us. I got really close with him, professionally, of course. And I called him one day and I was just like, Dr. Lewis, like, you saw me and her at our worst, but what did you see in me? And he was like, I'm glad you called me. He said, I really wanted to work with you one-on-one because I saw a lot of things in you that I just didn't want to discuss in front of her. I wanted you to deal with you. He said, so I'm glad you called me. Can you come in? I said, absolutely. That was single-handedly the best decision I ever made. I came into there for that first session. I don't think I've ever cried that hard. I didn't realize I was holding on to as much trauma and anger and frustration as it was years of it. Years. And we touched on surfaces lightly, but when he started getting into my kids and especially my dad, I lost it. He literally, one exercise we did that changed my life, he turned the lights out and he sat the chair in the middle of the floor. And he said, you're still angry that you don't have the answers that you want from your father. Now that he's gone, you can't get the answers you want. How does that make you feel? And I broke down. And he gave me a Kleenex box and he said, if your dad was sitting in this chair, what would you ask him? And he got up from the chair and he walked out the room. And before he closed the door, he said, talk to your dad. I broke down. And that's when I knew that all this was stemming from me holding on to this anger that I just did not have the bond with my father that I wanted. And I was desperately searching for my identity, and I was finding it in the fleshly ways. And that's all it was. And I had no control over it because I was so angry at him dying and not giving me the answers that I wanted, that I was taking it out on what I thought was everybody else. But really I was beating myself up. I was a self-destructing demise. It was crazy. And when I sat there, he left me sitting there for about 5 to 10 minutes. And when he came back in, I was shaking so bad, I couldn't get my words together. And the only thing I could ask is why? Why did you leave me like that? Like, why didn't you just tell me who I was or show me who you were? Like, do you know how bad I wanted you in my life? Like, it was crazy. And so when I started feeling that, that's when I started internalizing what my kids made me feeling about me. At that point,
you knew what my next question was. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And from that point, I called my boys. I flew out and I sat with my 2 oldest, because by this time they were back in North Carolina. I sat with my boys on a bleacher on a field at Fort Bragg. They were old enough to understand. And I gave them the short version of it. But in essence, that's where the book came from. I was telling them everything about their father being a hoe and trying to become a husband. And that's exactly where the title came from. I said, y'all know what a hoe is, right? They were like, yeah, Dad, you know, we hear it in the rap songs and stuff. You know, you like a lot of women you date. And even they could remember some of the women I dated. They were like, well, whatever happened to such and such and whatever happened. I'm like, dang, y'all remember that? I thought y'all were too young. They were like, nah, remember her. She had the kids. And these were just women in between the main relationships that they remember. And I was like, wow, they were watching me the whole time.
Always are.
And then the big questions came. Why'd you leave my mom? Are you ever coming back? Boom, boom, boom. Broke me down. And I was just like, look, man, from this point forward, I'm going to tell y'all everything about y'all father that y'all need to know, whether it's good or bad, because I didn't have that with my father. And I want y'all to know before I leave this earth, I need you to know Dad ain't perfect. Dad ain't Superman. Dad tried.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
But y'all are my motivating factors, and I love y'all. Regardless of whatever I went through with me, I won't let that spill over into you. I need y'all to be better than me. I need y'all to be better than me. And I'm telling you this because I'm giving you the cheat code to life. You don't have to live this life that I chose to live. I promise you. I ain't out here doing nothing super crazy. But if whether your drug is the drug of choice is drugs or crime or money, mine's was sex. Mm-hmm. And it's just as deadly if you don't play it right. If you play it wrong. And I played it way too many times.
If it definitely can be deadly, but I mean, as far as like the heaviness on your soul, the heaviness in you, like later on, people, I know women, you know, who have gone through, you know, sexual promiscuity when they're younger and they go through things, they end up, it weighs on them later in life. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They understand. And they realize that things, you know, the direction of their life is different. You know, they got outcomes that probably aren't the same because they made certain decisions. It's no different for us.
That's it.
It ain't no different for us. And it's one of those things to me when it comes to sex, I think it's because it destroys you morally so much, even for men. I know we can do it and maybe emotionally detach and just it can be okay with the effects and the consequences from it more than I think ladies can be.
Right.
But the reality is it still tears away from a moral perspective. You went to counseling, so you talk with the counselor. He put you through and willing to go through your depth of your counseling. But I assume, do you still go to counseling or that's done?
Yes, we still see, even though I live in Houston, we still communicate at least once a month.
You've broken down as much as I think that you should break down. We'll let everybody else go read the book and kind of get the details. But you've broken down a pretty, elaborate story. I mean, this is very detailed, from brokenness of you coming up, not understanding where you come from, who your father is. You know the story. I know the book, and I won't tell too much, but I know it definitely tells how you guys interacted, before losing him. So and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be straight up. If there's any point in time that I really got emotional in your book, it was then. And it was very much so it hit me, because I was like, as I knew it was coming as I'm reading, like this is the part of the book, you know it's coming, and you still can't shake it, because I couldn't shake it. Let me put it this way, because I understand my background. So almost 2 years ago, I met my biological father for the first time. Never had any clue on who he was. Would have never even found out. So to go through the process and then find out, and then meet him, it answered a bunch of questions for me. Yeah. And I can tell you that it has absolutely continued, my evolution of who I am, and getting out of the worldly perspective and fully focused on, more the spiritual perspective. It's so hard to do when you have a mindset that's broken, because you don't realize that's where you should be. Yep. You talked about God. You talked about, a couple of things throughout. So I know it's been there. Like, God has been there. It's been, whether your parents brought it up, grandparents, friends, you told me there was a lady you dated and you guys went to church together. So there was things where it was a part of the process. It may not have been a priority or the highest priority. You've done work communicating with people, for people to help you understand, here's some areas you're broken in, although you are uncovering it themselves. I guess I'm being long-winded on this because I really want to ask this question. Like, what in the non-flesh now have you incorporated into your life to actually achieve what the book doesn't state. So the book states what you know, where you started, the obstacles and stuff that you've gone through, what's been put in place at this point to make sure that those steps don't get repeated, that you are moving, in the right direction, or that you continue to move in the right direction is a better way to put it.
The type of guy that I am, I operate very well in black and white. And he picked up on that very quickly. He said, "You don't like gray area." I said, "No, either I'm hot or I'm cold. I'm mad or I'm nice. Like it's no in between." And he was like, "So if I can give you something and you can see it, then you can fix it." Absolutely. And when he showed me borderline personality disorder, I was like, "Ooh." He said, "I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose you. But if I had to say something that you dealt with that you never knew a term for, this is what it is." And when we looked up the definition of borderline personality disorder, 7 out of the 10 characteristics I matched with 10 for 10. From narcissistic to isolation to depression to impulsive behavior to anger. It just covered everything. Promiscuous, like everything. And he said it either begs one or two questions. Either most kids were molested as a child and that's where their behaviors come from, or which makes sense because, like you said earlier, with women, I've met plenty of women who were raped, and some of them women even identified with, "I like to be touched and felt because I thought that was love." Versus, or you just had an absent parent who you did not connect with, and now you get these wild behaviors that you have no idea where they came from, and it could have been embedded in you years ago. Yeah. But let's be clear, when my father died, his brother died, his brother's son died. I was the only male carrying my last name on that side of the family before I went to Iraq. So if something would have happened to me, last name would have ended. So God blessed me with 3 boys. However, I still didn't have that connection with who the hell was I. I had none of that. That's what therapy gave me. Therapy, he made me stop and figure out who I am first. He said, "Look, take away the cars, take away the uniform, take away the jewelry, take away the shoes, take away everything that makes you who you are. All your superpowers stripped. Who are you?" And the same question you asked me, "And what is your purpose?" And he made me go home and do homework. And when I came back, I had the answer after about 3 weeks because I really had to do some soul searching. I really had to dig down and do some soul searching. And he was like, he came back. As soon as he said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm a server. I'm a child of God." I had that connection for a long time. And I felt his presence every time I did some silly shit. And I said, I didn't feel worthy enough to and it sounds crazy, but even I told my mom when I got saved, I said, "I don't want to get saved right now because I'm being bad." And she was like, "Baby, that's not when you get saved. You get saved when you are being bad because he wants you to come as you are." And so as a grown-up, I still felt like I'm not worthy of being close to God. So I'm going to keep operating over here like God ain't watching me. But last night I was just mad. What I look like going to church today. But in essence, that's when you need to go. You got to keep going until it sinks in that this is not right. And so when I went to therapy, it gave me that moral compass again. Once I was able to identify the problem, it was like, now I can come up with solutions to solve it. What's the first solution? We got to get back to loving yourself. He said, because right now you don't love you. Because if you did, then none of this would be an issue. But you don't love you because you don't know who you are. And now that you know who you are, you can start to love yourself. So let's start from there. He gave me like exercises to do just for myself. So when you asked me that, I used to tell, he said, "Give me 2 places that are your favorite places to be." I said, "The gym and the car wash." For me, for whatever reason, it's therapeutic. He was like, "Cool. So anytime these lustful desires come up on you, if you can't physically leave and go to these places to put that energy somewhere else, go meditate and mentally check out and go to these places in your mind. Whatever you need to do. I would hope you can do it physically. If nothing's stopping you, go wash your car, go for a drive, listen to jazz music, whatever soothes you. But you got to find a way to fight those demons that you have, because when they surface, you know how reckless you can get. And we're going to call those little CB. Anytime little CB doesn't get his way, he wants to pout and kick and scream and run back to what's comfortable. You can't do that. It's okay to hug little CB and tell him no. Developing those practices is what ultimately became new habits for me. And the crazy part, I found peace. I started finding peace in being by myself. I started finding peace in reading. I started finding peace in writing again. I started finding peace in just taking a bath. I started to finding peace in just sitting on my balcony and watching wildlife interact with each other. Like, I started finding peace in being quiet and not being the center of attention. When I moved here to Houston, I felt a tug pulling me here. It was almost like, I need you to get away from yourself. Get away from your distractions so you can hear me clearly. And when I tell you I can hear him now more than ever, because I emptied that, it's almost like I took out the trash. That's literally how it felt. Like when you got all this stuff in your computer, all this porn and everything, you deleted all these pictures and all these women, and you hit that empty trash button where you know you can never get it back.
Yep.
That's what I had to do. I had to dump. I had to take a brain dump. And I took a permanent one when I made that move. I calculated all the risk. I factored in all the finances. And in my mind, it was like, if you want to achieve peace, you got to do something different, because this ain't it. Because at this point, you're operating from insanity, expecting a different result, doing the same stuff over and over. One thing for certain, two things for sure. You know what this leads to if you keep doing this. You got 3 of them. Do you want 4?
Yes.
Do you want 5?
Right.
And I'm meeting guys that got like 10 kids and 13 baby money, and they're like, yeah, I'm going out to the club tonight. And I'm like, you still don't get it.
Mm-mm.
That's not going to be me. I cannot look my kids in the face after everything I just told them and be like, oh, by the way, here's another child that y'all got to take on now. Here's your brother or your sister, because your daddy still ain't figured it out.
Absolutely. No, I 1,000%, agree. Moms, did you get saved? It sounds like mom said, hey, you need to get saved. So you got saved how long ago?
I got saved in 1995, May 25th.
Okay, May 25th of 95.
Yep.
Have you gone through your Bible? Have you done that as well?
That's the other thing. The beauty of becoming older and wiser.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what you didn't understand before. So
absolutely,
when I used to get the Bible and just read it to be reading it, now I understand why people say you have to study the Bible. It's not about finishing the book. I wouldn't even focus on finishing the book. That's why pastors can preach on this for 40, 50 years on one book, because there's so many parts to that book that you could just take one line and make a whole sermon about. So
absolutely.
You got to study the Bible. And so as I'm reading the book of Job, and he talks about patience, and I'm reading about dance like David, and I'm like, why are we dancing like David? David was a hoe and a murderer. Like, I'm catching all of this stuff. And I'm like, but at the end of the day, no matter who did what, God still used them for the glorification of his name. If he chose to use you, you got used. You had no control over that. You could have 700 concubines and 14 wives. If God said you're going to be a king of this kingdom and multiply, that's exactly what you finna do. And so that's when I was like, that is the part of the Bible that made me feel like I'm worthy to follow God, despite what I've done, despite my ways. If he can forgive them, then I know he got grace for me, because I don't have 700 concubines. Right. I ain't that bad.
Right. Yeah. Got to be a bad man to do that one nowadays. So how do you stay focused? Because I will say that it's not easy. Once we have, like a lot of people say, they get addictions, right? People get they're alcoholic. They go through the program, they come out the program, no matter what, they're alcoholic. If they got a sponsor that they reach out to if they're thinking about, having some liquor, right? I mean, there's certain things they have in place and things that they do to prevent themselves from ever going back to that life. And a lot of times, I know I haven't gone through this process, but I know people close to me who have. And they've gone through that. And one of the final steps and later it's really apologizing, all your accountability to all the loved ones around you, from how much damage. Now, I know you've done that with your kids and all this and that. But at that point, typically, that's what keeps you from ever doing it again, or you're on a path. Now, it sounds like, it comes back. So your story sounds like it is centered around, as far as the coping mechanism was, you learned how to become extremely lustful, right? And you learned to be good at it. It was the broken part. You have responsibilities. And I'm not calling your kids consequences, but I'm saying kids are the consequence of the results of making those decisions. We love them to death, and as part of it, you taking care of them. But you've also said, hey, if I keep doing this, I know it leads to that. And you didn't say that as if I can't wait to have me 10, 15 more kids, right? You're saying it as if, okay, so what now is in place? That's really what is it that's in place to prevent you from doing or going down that mindset again, to have the Pookie moment? Woo, it's around me. I got to get this hit, right? What prevents that from taking place?
To be honest with you, leaving the Army, I left with a lot of ailments, blood pressure being one of them. And I noticed when I'm reckless, my blood pressure stays high. And I ended up in the hospital behind that. I was in the ER for 4 days, ICU. And when you have 4 doctors standing over you from different, and they all speak different languages, but you understand one thing clear. If you keep whatever lifestyle up that you're doing, you're going to die. That alone to me was all I needed. That was like, how can I look my kids in the face and tell them I'm on my last breath because I couldn't stop doing these things?
Gotcha.
I mean, that just didn't make any sense. I couldn't. I'm more of a man. I can't give them that type of excuse. I've seen men die from alcohol poison or die from smoking too much, or, Papa was a Rolling Stone. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't want to be that to them because I didn't have that from my dad. So that was my boundary. My boundary was whatever I didn't get from my dad, I'm giving it to my kids. And I have to be here to give it to them. If I'm not here, they don't get it.
Absolutely.
So I can't keep having sex with multiple women because you can die like that. I can't keep sitting out and partying every night and trying to meet because you can die like that. Who's to say you don't end up in a car accident? Who's to say somebody don't get to shooting in the club? Who's to say you don't drink too much and your kidneys go bad? We all got to go some way, but I don't want to expedite the process in a particular way that I know I can stop. If I have hands-on control, then I can make a decision. I don't have to do that. And that's kind of where my kids motivate me more than they could ever understand. Seeing them win, despite me not being there every day, is the biggest flex that I got. I just got no word today that my 8-year-old, he just passed second grade with A and B honor roll and great behavior. He plays football.
Congrats.
My middle son is 2 days away from becoming a senior in high school. Like, these are the accomplishments that make me feel like, wow. If I would,
and you're able to see it up,
yeah. My oldest son he hit some bumps in the road. That's another book coming, but he's still alive to tell his story, and he's figuring it out. Me and him, we had some times. We had to figure some things out. But that was in the early stages of what I was going through. So he caught a lot of that, and he saw a lot. So he reacted just like I did when I didn't have my dad.
Trauma's passed to us, and we pass it down. It's never meant to. It's just, it's definitely a part of it. So now, you talked about, the book. Hold a Husband is a good read, everybody. I will tell you, it's going to keep you entertained. And definitely from a fella's perspective. If you've ever had that level of life or brokenness, and you've had experience from a young age, from a sexual standpoint, you for sure, or I shouldn't say from a young age, but really exposing yourself to it, porn, sex, all of that. This definitely, you can relate to this. And it's important that it goes out there because this happens to too many dudes and they think it's cool. They think it's really cool. And the reality is you're actually playing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing things, completely wrong. You're affecting other lives and stuff like that.
That's the crazy part.
I know. It's almost, and it's been glorified for both sexes. And it's not. It's not, what should be done at all. So what's the next steps then? So now you got, we've got the story of how you came to be. What are the next steps? Like, what is it? You said your purpose is to serve. Like, what are the next steps as far as serving, and what are you looking at doing?
Between me and my son, my oldest son, and we're going to go into, that book is going to be called Delayed, Never Denied. Bridging the gap between Black fathers and sons. So we're going to tell my story, picking up from when I was with his mother, going into everything that me and him endured. And then from that point, he's going to tell his story of what he went through, because I want him he wants to be a motivational speaker. He wants to give insight to street life and incarceration and everything that he has experienced. So kids his age can kind of get it together or see that, hey, he's my age. He ain't an old man. He ain't, how that generation looks at us like, oh man, y'all don't understand. Y'all old. Well, he gets it. He's 21 and he's been there and done that. So you can't tell him that because he has good
Right.
He's been through that number. So he gets it. He's also been through a father who didn't have a father. So now he understands that aspect of it. So that'll make him a better man when he becomes a father. And for me, it's just to continue to serve. I got 3 books in me that I know of personally. If God has more, great. Ultimately, I hope that we can turn these books into short films or movies. I really do.
Now, is there still, it says from Hold a Husband. We talked a lot about the whole part. We talked a lot about a couple times, that you were a husband, in the story. Is that still something that you're looking to do? Or was the book just to say, hey, I went from Hold a Husband and it was a talk about it? Or is that where you're still looking to go? You're still looking
That's exactly why at the end I left that letter to my future wife. I definitely want to be a husband. The crazy part is now I know I am a husband. Going through all of that helped me get to a place where now I see exactly what to do as a husband. So in a sense, it was like a self-taught manual. Like, I don't know the way to get it, but I'm going to fail my way to success. And that's exactly what I did. I bumped my head enough to know, don't do that no more.
What does that look like to you? What does being a husband look like to you now?
One word, peace. Peace of mind. That's all I want. It ain't even about sex anymore. We've had enough. I can stop having sex right now and be okay. Like, if they really knew the numbers, and I ain't gonna go into all that.
No, we don't need to know that.
Cool. Like, I'm super cool. I promise you, I can enjoy a woman's mind now, and if the rest follows, great. I know how to handle. The self-discipline is kicked in now, so it's not just about busting the nut anymore. It's not just about who's the next one on the belt. Like, I want one person. I'm okay with that. I want to come home. I need somebody who can recognize the signs of a stroke. Like, I need that one woman that can hold me down, and I'm okay with that. We can go to church together. We can pray together. You can pray over me. We don't talk over each other. We effectively communicate. We buried our traumas. We've gotten past it. We've healed. We raise our kids together. We travel the world. We make love in crazy places, but it's actually making love. And I'm not thinking about another woman when we're doing it. Like, I just want one woman, and I'm cool with that.
Where do you want to go with that one woman? Where's your life headed?
I want to be that couple that stands up 65 years from now and we in church because we just celebrated our 60th anniversary. Like, I want that old school love. That's it. I'm cool. I'm retired. I'm an author. I'm a father. And from this point forward, the only thing left that I really truly want to accomplish is eventually I do want to get on the radio. That's one of my goals, to radio personality. Other than that, I'm going to become an usher. I know that's the end state. Whatever church I'm in, I'm going to be a head usher.
Because the title is so strong, Hold a Husband.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on the husband part? Like, I know there's peace, I know there's that, but what then is your responsibility, or do you see as your responsibility to your wife? Like, what do you envision that? I know it can be usher stuff and, you're part of the church and y'all part of God, but throughout those 60 years of being together to the end, right? Like, what does that journey through this world look like? Where are you taking her? Where are you leading her? What are you trying to show? Like, what do you need her for?
As they say with the with the whole new terms that's coming along, I want her to stay in her soft era. Like, I want her to not be so masculine. I want you to operate in your femininity. Like, I want to be able to protect you. I definitely want to be able to provide. I want to be able to be such a loyal partner that it just doesn't even make sense for somebody to come and say, I saw your husband. No, he didn't do that, because I know him. He's a changed man and he's doing right. So leave that, take that somewhere else. That's not who he is. I want my reputation with my wife to be so solid that next to God, she's just like, that's my king. The main thing I would definitely strive to provide my wife is just a God-fearing man. That's the only way I can operate at this point, is to be a God-fearing man led by the Spirit. That's it. Because anything outside of that, I'm subject to crumble. I'm subject to fold. So when our pastor talks about responding out of the flesh versus responding out of the spirit, that's kind of how I operate now. So anything that just looks like it ain't supposed to be attached to me, the first thing I do is, Lord, whatever's supposed to be with me, whatever's not for me, remove it.
I would add to it. I would just add to that, my understanding as well, and being connected and Christian, follower myself, I would definitely just make sure that if and when you do, decide to go down that process again, like your wife will be your wife long before she's your wife, right? You will be her husband long before, you're her husband. You guys will be walking together with the same form and concept of life, with the same spiritual mindset and understanding of, what you are. But I will definitely make sure that you understand, I have understood this to work the most or work the best. You fully understand your plan and your purpose, so you can lay it out to her and say that this is exactly what's taking place, and this is where I need you. This is what I'm looking for from you. This is how I would like for this relationship. And along the way, this is what we're building. This is what ultimately we're going to be at. I found it very difficult for ladies to stick with leadership or to stay covered under people when they don't know where it's going or they think it's going somewhere, because we constantly have to showcase that. If I told you this is where we're going, ladies will always say, well, it's not about what you say, it's actions. But they listen to what you say first, and then they follow the actions behind it. So it's good to, this is where we're going. And then next thing you know, you end up there. And she's like, oh, you did say that we was going here. Okay, he not lying. He is telling the truth. He is leading me to the right stuff, and things are going in the right fashion. I don't really have to. I mean, we can say, I take this, but I got plenty of additional, questions to get deep, but we didn't spend plenty of time on today. The last thing that, maybe a couple questions that I just kind of have for you is there any additional obstacles? Is there anything that's left in your way just to prevent you from fulfilling and achieving your purpose? It sounds like, and I'm going to paraphrase this, so you can correct me, please, if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you've gone through your process in life. You understood where you were broken. You seeked out and assisted, or seeked out and got help, to understand worldly ways to go ahead and correct behavior so you don't follow the same footsteps. It sounds like you've also have gotten back close to your moral and your spiritual understanding and beliefs to prevent your flesh from doing, acting on, basically keeping your thoughts pure, so your actions, will be, as pure as possible. Sounds like you've done, a lot of those things. Is there anything left in your way to prevent you from fulfilling, what your purpose is?
No, I can't say that there is, to be honest, because at this point I've identified everything that I needed to tackle. And once I'm able to identify it's kind of like being in the army. Once I know who the enemy is, easy to take. I can take them out now. And when I didn't know who I was, that was half the battle. So once I figured that part out, it was like, okay, you are this is who you were designed to be. These are the enemies that are stopping you that you're letting stop you from becoming who God wants you to be. Take them out. Take those enemies out. One by one. Yep. Let's knock them down. Your dad, boom. Yep. Not being there for your kids, boom. Finances, boom. Sexual promiscuities, boom. It was just one by one. And once I got to that point, I know everything hands down. God has had his hand on me. Good, man, listen. He could have took me out too many times. Honestly, I probably should have had about 7, 8 kids the way I was going. Like, I could have been one of them, but he saw fit for me to stay right there where I was, pull me up, dust me off, and say, I got a better route. I just need you to go get the help. He connected me with the right therapist. Everything fell into place. Now I'm in the right city. The right message comes out in the book. Once I started listening, everything fell into place.
You got any last thoughts or words for, anybody out there that may have gone through or, going through something similar or is going through it now?
To all my men, black, white, green, purple, therapy. I can't express it enough. Like, I was one of them guys that I don't need nobody telling me about me. I ain't finna pay nobody to tell me about me. It was the dumbest mindset I could have ever thought of. We all need to talk to somebody. This right here is therapeutic. Absolutely. Even if you don't have a therapist, have an accountability partner. Have somebody that's gonna tell you, nah, bro, you bugging. That's not it. Yeah. We got too many cheerleaders on our teams nowadays. You need a coach.
Absolutely.
Coaches are gonna tell you effed up, you wrong. That was the wrong play.
Absolutely.
Get on the bench. I don't need you right now.
1,000% agreed.
And that's kind of how I select my friends now. Select the right friends. I need coaches around me. I don't need you encouraging my bad behavior. I need you to tell me I'm stupid and stay down somewhere.
Black men that come from broken families, but anybody that doesn't have, that come from a broken family environment, black or whatnot, man, we all need somebody to connect with. I mean, CB, man, I greatly appreciate your time, brother. I definitely appreciate you telling your story. The folks out there, that are watching the video, hopefully that, some of this conversation and discussion, is relatable to you or to someone Definitely. Hey, put that back up there. Man, please go get From a Hoe to a Husband, written by Mr. CB Ellington. It's a good read. It's not a hard read. I think it was about 100 or so pages. So, took me, I got through it in a few hours and just kind of went through. I was stuck reading it, so I didn't want to come away from it. Straight to the point. That's what it's about. But if this conversation, anything about this, resonates to you, anybody family, please like, share, subscribe. If you want to stay connected with Uncle on any of the social media outlets, the links will be below. I just appreciate your time again, man. I mean, I'm glad that you put your testimony stuff out there. I definitely, I would tell you, encourage you, man, stay focused. If there's, myself, man, if there's anything that you need, I mean, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I mean, I definitely believe in community and partnership. UNC is a community. I mean, UNC is set up to be a community. It stands for Universal Network of Consciousness. Every person that I meet up in here that I understand and is on the right path and they got stuff and they're doing the right things and they still not on no bullshit. These people are part of the network. Throughout my life, I had to go the hard way. You'd have met a lot of people in the military and doing things. Not everybody has, similar backgrounds, but like attracts like. Right. So no matter what, I was still attracting a lot of broken dudes as friends that came from similar backgrounds. And we still partners to this day. And we went through same things. And I can talk to these people. And throughout, I ended up meeting people that was better than me. And I've learned from these people because I was not having just like you, one person that was directly influencing me, telling me, hey, son, this is what you need to do. Nephew, this is what you need to do. Cousin, this is what you need to do. Brother, what the hell is going on? None of that. It was go out there and do it. And then people was just, okay. Because I tend to, had a little bit of success in my life, always just kind of, I worked, I did stuff. I wasn't getting in trouble. So nobody was thinking that I was doing anything wrong. Man, I'm doing everything wrong. Settle me down. But, chill out. So, I say that because, man, if you need anything, you ever need to reach out, we're part of the network, man. I mean, as hopefully there's ways that we bond, and if there's people that I can send your way, through anything, I will. If people that go through certain things from the military and got certain stuff, I may reach out to you and be like, man, this is a brother that went through this and didn't have things. I mean, it's part of life. We need people to talk to. We need people that are relatable. It takes a village. It takes an absolute village in order to, for us to get there. And it takes even longer and harder when we got a broken mindset. It just takes a while. It takes us a while to kind of get there and realize. And you don't know what you don't know. So people can look at you all throughout life and say, man, this dude's doing stupid stuff. He didn't know. I can't believe. It's like, man, you don't know what you don't know. If you weren't teaching your boys and your sons not to do what you did, what would stop them from doing what you did?
Exactly.
So it's like, they got to talk to you, and they got pops, man. So, man, I appreciate you again. Thank you for the time. I know we went over. I know we had some technical difficulties from in there, but man, I appreciate you hanging in there. I wish you all the, best of luck. And man, I appreciate you, man. Hey, same to you, man. Hey, to all the ones out there looking, hey, be blessed.